All right, so today we're looking into Indian oil refineries.
Okay.
And we've got this proposal from a company called BUNKERMAN.
Uh-huh.
And get this, they claim their technology can be like planting millions of trees when it comes to air pollution.
Wow, millions, huh? That's a bold statement, especially with all the buzz around climate funds going into COP29.
Yeah, it really is.
Mm-hmm.
So to give you an idea of the scale of this whole thing,
Yeah.
BUNKERMAN's proposal has this huge list of all these refineries across India.
Oh, wow.
It's like everywhere you look, there's a refinery.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Refineries are like essential for
Correct.
fuel in the economy, but they're also major polluters.
Yeah.
So kind of a double-edged sword.
It is. And speaking of pollution, they've got this whole list of pollutants that refineries pump out. VOCs, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter.
Right, and we're talking about not just inside the refineries either. This stuff goes into the air, affects the surrounding areas, and even people's health.
Totally. And some of these things sound pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like, what even are BTX chemicals?
BTX is, well, it's a group of volatile organic compounds.
Yeah.
We're talking benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylene. They can be pretty nasty, both for people and the environment.
Oh,
Yeah, they can get into water sources too.
that's scary.
Yeah.
Okay, so now for the interesting part. Bunkerman says their technology can be as effective as planting millions of trees to fight these emissions.
That's a pretty big claim.
It is. And they even have this like graphic in the proposal showing how human activity since 1776 has messed up the whole CO2 balance in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Like, wow, we need a lot more trees to soak up all the extra CO2.
We really do.
Mm-hmm.
So what's Bunkerman actually proposing? They mention data centers, chemical labs, stadiums, even ETP ponds. What are those?
It sounds like they're going after different areas where air quality needs work.
Okay.
And it's not just about CO2, it's about cleaner air overall.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
They actually have this case study from a data center in Guwahati where they used their system.
Really?
Yeah, and they saved a lot of energy and didn't need to rely on fresh air intake as much.
So that's like a domino effect, right? If they're using less energy, that means fewer emissions overall.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
But the case that really blew my mind was the Digboy refinery.
Okay.
They say it would take a whopping 1 crore trees, that's 10 million trees, just to offset that one refinery's emissions.
Wow.
Can you even imagine the land you'd need for that many trees?
And the cost. Planting 10 million trees is no small feat.
Exactly. So suddenly, Bunkerman's solution starts to sound a lot more appealing.
It does, yeah.
It really makes you think, right? Is planting trees always the best answer? Or are there better ways to do this?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, trees are great, don't get me wrong, but it's not always that simple.
Right.
You need the land, you need to take care of them, and it takes time for them to grow and actually absorb all that carbon.
Okay, that makes sense. So Bunkerman talks about these things called ETP ponds, which are apparently a big source of VOCs in refineries.
Uh-huh.
What exactly are these ponds and why are they so bad?
So ETP stands for effluent treatment plant. It's basically where the wastewater from the refining process gets treated.
Got it.
The problem is these ponds release a bunch of VOCs into the air.
Oh.
Yeah. And traditionally, refineries have used activated carbon filters to try and catch these emissions. But
There are issues with that, right?
yeah, Bunkerman is pretty upfront about the downsides.
Okay, so what do they suggest instead?
They've developed this multi-stage filtration system that uses chemicals instead of activated carbon.
Interesting.
Yeah, they claim it's way better at grabbing those VOCs and doesn't need that whole regeneration process that's so energy intensive.
Sounds promising, but we need proof, right?
Absolutely.
Do they have anything to back up these claims, like visuals, data, anything concrete?
Well, they do have a lot of pictures in the proposal showing their tech in action. Like, there are these ductless units for homes and offices, bigger ones for stadiums and industrial places, even photos of them testing their VOC removal process at their R&D center.
Okay, so they're showing us the goods, but we still need to verify all this, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Pretty pictures are nice, but we need independent data to really know if this stuff works.
Absolutely. You got to be critical and keep asking questions.
Exactly. And that's what makes these deep dives so interesting.
Yeah.
We're taking the time to really dig into these complex topics, look at them from different angles, and give our listeners the info they need to form their own opinions.
Exactly. It's all about empowering people with knowledge.
All right, so let's keep exploring this BunkerMan proposal and see what else we can uncover.
Let's do it.
And we'll see if they really can live up to those tremendous claims.
Sounds good. You know, it's really clever how BunkerMan uses that tree planting thing to explain their point.
It is.
It definitely gets your attention.
Yeah, it really made me think, but do you think they're maybe downplaying how important reforestation is by making that comparison?
I see what you mean.
Like, we can't just forget about planting trees, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. We can't.
They're super important for fighting climate change.
Absolutely. But I think it's also worth looking into other solutions, especially for things like oil refineries where the emissions are like really hard to control.
So it's not like one or the other.
Exactly. We need both, planting trees and new technologies.
Got it. So for our listener who's going through this proposal, what should they be looking out for? What are the big questions they should be asking?
I'd say approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
Don't just take what BunkerMan says as gospel.
Right.
Look for hard evidence, data, and stuff that's been verified by independent people.
Okay, good advice.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit and focus on one specific thing BunkerMan is tackling.
Okay.
VOC removal from those ETP ponds we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
They seem pretty proud of their chemical filtration system.
Well, they have reason to be, at least based on what they're saying.
Yeah.
Those traditional activated carbon filters have some real downsides, remember?
Yeah, the cost and the environmental impact of regenerating them.
Exactly. And BunkerMan's system is supposed to be more sustainable and efficient.
Right.
So they say, anyway.
And they've got some pretty cool pictures in the proposal, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's this whole section showing their VOC testing process at their R&D center.
Cool.
Like they're giving you a peek behind the curtain,
I like that.
showing you how the science works.
Transparency is good.
It is.
When companies are open about their process and what they're doing, it builds trust.
Totally.
But again, we still need that independent verification.
Right, of course.
To be sure everything checks out.
Okay, so let's pretend we're a big shot at an Indian oil refinery.
Okay.
What are the most important questions we should be asking BunkerMan?
Well, first off, show me the data. What are the exact VOC removal rates they can achieve? Right. And how does it compare to activated carbon filters in terms of cost and how well it works? We need those hard numbers.
Makes sense. And what about the long-term sustainability of this chemical filtration system?
Absolutely. How often does it need maintenance? What are the environmental impacts of the chemicals they're using?
Good points.
Those are big things for any refinery that's trying to be more eco-friendly.
It seems like BunkerMan could really change the game, but like with any new technology, you got to do your homework, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We need to weigh what they're saying against the evidence and think about all the possible consequences before jumping in.
Exactly. Can't just take things at face value.
So speaking of looking at the bigger picture,
Yeah.
BunkerMan mentions these new climate funds, which are a big topic going into COP29.
Right.
How does their technology fit into that whole discussion?
It's an interesting link.
Yeah.
As countries try to figure out how to pay for switching to cleaner energy,
Yeah.
technologies like BunkerMan's could help attract investment. Well, if they can prove that their system is a cost-effective way to cut emissions, refineries might be more willing to use it, especially if there's money from these climate funds to help them out.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how it fits into the whole economic and political landscape.
You got it.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Now, for our listener, what are some real things they can do to make a difference in all of this?
That's a great question.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by these huge, complicated issues.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
But even small actions can make a difference.
Like what?
Like, being aware of how much energy you're using,
Okay.
choosing fuel-efficient cars if you need a car,
Right.
supporting companies that are trying to be eco-friendly.
Got it.
It's all about putting your money where your mouth is, basically.
It's about being informed, making good choices,
Mhm.
and speaking up for change.
Exactly. It's about realizing that we all have a part to play in making things more sustainable.
I like that.
Even small steps add up.
True. Well said. Okay.
Well said. All right, I think that wraps up our deep dive into Indian oil refineries and BunkerMan's big plans.
Yeah, I think so.
Hope you found it interesting and got you thinking.
Definitely. Always good to explore these important topics.
Absolutely. And hey, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep the conversation going about how we can make things better.
Couldn't agree more.
Until next time, stay curious.
See ya.